Hi, everyone. I'm Kyle Kramer, the Executive Director of the Earth and Spirit Center, and I'm joined by Dr. Hannah Bland. Hi, Hannah.
Hi.
So Hannah is a professor at Spalding University. You're an assistant professor in clinical mental health counseling, that program. Do I have that right?
Yes.
All right. Well, and Hannah, you will be a new instructor for us. We're very excited. We have a new series of courses that we're offering this fall, and all of them themed around the idea of health and healing, because we recognize, as I'm sure you do, that we all have been through a lot of collective and individual trauma over these last 2 years of COVID, plus whatever else may be happening in our family systems and in the world at large. So Hannah, I would be really curious to hear just a little bit about your own background, what brought you to the kind of work you do, and then I'd love to talk with you about the course you're going to teach as part of this broader series that we're offering in regard to wellness and healing and recovery. So who's Dr. Hannah Bland?
Yeah, so I am a licensed professional counselor. I'm also a nationally certified counselor. I also have my PhD in counselor education and supervision. So right now at the university, my main focus is teaching students how to be the next generation of counselors. How do we build them up and train them to go out into the field and actually help people? Prior to that, I was actually doing full-time clinical work, and my clinical experiences are really what led me to a deeper understanding and passion for mindfulness and mindfulness-based stress reduction, because our mind and body are really connected. So for me, I've done a lot of different clinical things. I started my work working foster care and adoption services. I worked substance abuse, outpatient, rape crisis centers, but I found my passion actually working in the prison systems. Yeah, it's really great. It takes the right person, but when you find your shtick, it's your thing and you really love it. So I spent the last 3 years working full-time in actually male prison facilities.
This is in West Virginia, where you're from?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. So I was actually in 2 of the prisons in West Virginia, both male facilities, and it was me, just one therapist for about 1,000 people.
Wow.
Yeah, that is a whole different issue.
So you know trauma. You have
Yes.
been in the trenches.
Yeah, like deeply understand trauma and how generational trauma and early childhood trauma impact our ability to function and be present and be whole as adults functioning in the world. So for me, what I was finding is the things that were happening within the prison system weren't actually helping. Punitive measures weren't enough. Putting someone in a prison cell and saying, all right, this is going to fix you, we'll let you out in 5 years, didn't actually fix the larger problem. It didn't teach people how to manage their trauma and their stress and their substance abuse problems. So a big aspect of my role was working individually with these guys to say, hey, I can't take away what's happened to you, but I can teach you how to manage your stress. I can teach you about mindfulness. Here's how you do meditation. Here's how you do yoga. Take that back and practice it in your cell.
And did you see results? I know that the clinical research is very positive in this regard, but just anecdotally, or even in terms of studies that you may have conducted yourself, did you see positive change as a result of these kinds of interventions with using mindfulness?
Yeah, it was actually really incredible to see the differences in these guys that for a lot of individuals within the system and in the community, they were like, they're just lost causes. We just need to toss them aside and be done. But they changed so much for the guys who genuinely took the time to do these practices. You were seeing reduction in aggression and anxiety. They were going to segregation less often. And some of them were even able to transition out of therapy. They were doing so well. Some of them made the decision to go off of their medication because they learned the skills to manage themselves. And it was really incredible to see these guys who didn't believe that they could do better, making massive differences, staying out of trouble, like saying, Dr. Bland, I get up in the morning And as weird as it is, and as stupid as I thought these practices were, I get up and I do my deep breathing and it sets me for the day.
Exactly. Well, and I mean, if my contention would be that if it works in circumstances as radically difficult as a prison setting,
Yeah.
it's also going to be effective for those of us who may not be facing quite the same amount of struggle. So,
Mhm.
the title of your course this coming fall is Pandemic Mental Health: Utilizing Mindfulness in Uncertain Times. So, do you want to tell us just a little bit about what you hope to do in that class? What kind of benefit folks could expect
Mhm.
to receive from being part of it?
Yeah. So, like you mentioned earlier, the pandemic has just been a wild time period and nothing that any of us could have prepped for. So, when we experience a significant trauma and a long term trauma like the pandemic, it takes a drastic toll on our mental health, especially because we couldn't prepare for it. We couldn't mentally prep ourselves for this scenario.
Right.
So, what we saw throughout the pandemic is that all of these things were occurring. Our physical health was declining, our mental health was rapidly declining, shifts in financial status, economic stability. We were dealing with death, loss, grief, and all of these things culminated into people struggling with mental health. We saw anxiety, depression, suicide rates through the roof.
Mhm.
And we weren't really sure what to do about it because we were just in chaos. We were all just kind of surviving. So now, as we start to hopefully transition out, we have to stop and hopefully through this course, take a look at what do we do to take care of our mental health.
Yeah, I mean, one of the things that I love about the coursework at the Earth and Spirit Center, because this is it's non-credit, non-academic coursework, it's often got a very practical bent to it. What kind of tools or approaches or practices, just in brief, not to go through the syllabus or anything, but what are some of the key learnings or practices, tools that you think that a course participant could get out of this experience?
Yeah, so for me, I want to have them take away a couple of big things. So, one, just getting some self awareness of being really aware of what specific things did I experience during this time? Because I think it's really important that we understand how much we've been through. Sometimes we don't recognize how hard it's been until we reflect and look back. And once we're aware of those things, this course is going to say, all right, you have all of this stress, this trauma, however we're going to label it. Now, what do we do with it? What specific mindfulness skills can you take away to actually manage this to improve your mental health? What does mindfulness based stress reduction look like? I want people to walk away from this saying, I can actually improve my mental health and I can do it on my own successfully.
I want to ask a question. I don't know if this has to do with prereqs for the class, if there are any, but in my mind, I make a distinction between mindfulness practice and mindfulness practices. So mindfulness practice, I think of sitting on a cushion for 30 minutes a morning, or and having done that for many years, that's my mindfulness practice. Or I think of mindfulness practices in the sense of the things you can do in any given moment when someone cuts you off in traffic, or cuts in front of you at the grocery
Yeah.
line, or your car won't start, or your tires flat. All of these daily challenges that life throws at us, and that we have a chance to respond with kind of spacious awareness, or react with thoughtlessness and usually make things worse. Uh,
Yeah.
so I'm wondering, do folks who would take this class, do you presume that they have a long-term practice, or would you steer them in that direction, or how would you incorporate this distinction between practice and practices in
Mhm.
regard to your approach, and whatever expectations you may have of folks who are coming in?
Yeah, so long-term practice is like always a great thing, always appreciated. I love it, but certainly not required for this course. I recognize that a lot of us are naturally very busy people. And then with all of the things going on with the pandemic, we became busier, more and more started happening. So having intentional practice in our day might not have been realistic for a lot of people. So this course is really for anybody who's new, who's learning, who needs more of those here's a quick 5-minute practice that you can do. Or
Mhm.
when that guy does not use the blinker and cuts you off, and that's the final straw because everything has been building, what do you do? So, again, like a practice prior would be wonderful, but it's not required to get something beneficial from this.
All right. Well, Hannah, this has been a wonderful conversation. I'm so excited that you'll be teaching with us in this health-oriented and recovery-oriented series. Again, the title of your class is Pandemic Mental Health, Utilizing Mindfulness in Uncertain Times. You'll be offering that this fall. I'm not going to name the specific times, A, because I'll get them wrong, and B, because things always change and then a video goes out of date. But the details of that you can find on our website, earthandspiritcenter.org. Probably also in a link associated with this video. Hannah, again, great to talk with you,
You too.
and we're looking forward to this course in the fall.
Perfect. Thank you so much.